about the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing. But to those who are being saved, it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the discernment of the discerning I will thwart. Where is the one who is wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the debater of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? For since in the wisdom of God, the world did not know God through wisdom, God decided through the foolishness of our proclamation to save those who believe. For Jews demand signs and Greeks desire wisdom, but we proclaim Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and foolishness to Gentiles. But to those who are called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ, the power of God and the wisdom of God. For God's foolishness is wiser than human wisdom, and God's weakness is stronger than a human strength. The word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
It seems like every class has one person in their high school class, even grade school class, that seems to know what they're going to want to do with the rest of their life. They've got it all planned out. You know that kid who is always looking and doing all kinds of science stuff all the time, doing little experiments. The one who had the science kit at home and the microscope, would go out and catch frogs and dissect them. That kid that ends up becoming the doctor, graduating from college, from graduate school. I wasn't that kid. See, most of us, we don't have it all planned out for us. Or the plans that we make change. For me, my life plan was simple. My dad was a boss in the steel mills. My brother was a boss in the steel mills. My other brothers worked in the steel mills. That left what for Steve? You're going to work in a steel mill. That's what the plan was. And then in 1977, things changed. A flood came through Johnstown. And with it, floated away the jobs that were for the future. I had to make another plan. I was not good at making plans. So I got a job in a factory in Blairsville. I get laid off. I'd work in convenience stores or wash dishes at a country club or do whatever you had to make a few dollars to make ends meet. I really didn't have a plan. Didn't feel a plan. I certainly didn't feel a call. See, a calling can come from anyone. And that's not necessarily mean a call to ministry. But a call can happen. I got a call to drive trucks. I've got a call to work with children in school. I've got a call to serve others in some way. A call can happen to anybody for anything. But the call to ministry is one that we hear and we understand. A person needs to be called to be a minister. As a matter of fact, when you go to district committee meetings or board of ordained ministry meetings, that's the first question everybody's going to ask you. Tell me about your call. I wish I could have had something like a Paul moment. I could have said, well, I was working one day and all of a sudden a blinding light hit me and said, Steve, you got to go and be a pastor. That's not what happened. It just crept up on me. Became a lay speaker. Took lay speaking classes. Lay speaking classes led to a little church that had 12 people in it. And they needed a licensed local pastor, so I went and got my license to preach. But it kept pushing. God wanted more. That led to Timothy, and things and the lessons I learned there. And being a student pastor. And then to ordination. So it was a building thing, built on me. But the whole way through, I felt God was leading things to happen. God was preveniently running before me, making the plan for me. And the reason I wanted to talk about the call this morning is because Paul writes this. He says, "But we proclaim Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and foolishness to Gentiles, but to those who are called, Jew and Greek, Christ, the power of God and the wisdom of God." The thing is, everyone who believes is called. You're called to some sort of ministry for God. It may not be pulpit ministry. It may not be ordination or anything like that, but it could be simply proclaiming Christ in word and deed. Being an example of Christianity through the love you share and you show to others. You bear witness when you go to Valley Dairy or Hometown Diner and the meal comes out and you bow your head and pray. You're a witness when you volunteer for community ministries or some sort of other charity. You're called when you're in your workplace and people see you thumbing through a little New Testament Bible, or refraining from gossip or foul language. You bear the witness. You bear your calling. I'm reminded of a Peanuts cartoon. And Snoopy and Woodstock are sitting up on the roof of Snoopy's doghouse. And Snoopy looked down at Woodstock and he says, "You should be ashamed. Sitting up here on this doghouse. You're supposed to be out on the branch somewhere making music to bring joy to people's lives." So Woodstock flutters out to a branch and goes, "Chirp!" And he flutters back. And Snoopy goes, "That's it? That's all you got? You got one chirp? How's that supposed to put joy in somebody's heart? How's that supposed to brighten somebody's day? People are in need of a song." So Woodstock lights up and goes, "Chirp, chirp, 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 chirp." And then he floats back down. And Snoopy says, "Now don't you feel better? You fulfilled what you're supposed to be doing. Now all you got to do is wake up every day and do it over and over and over again for the rest of your life." And with that, Woodstock kind of fell off the top of the doghouse. See, the thing about being a Christian is not just to be a Christian in a moment. Not just to be a witness in a moment. Not just your calling is for your life. And not everybody's going to buy into it. Because, as Paul writes, for many this is foolishness. Jews and Greeks alike. For Jews wanted signs. When they had their Messiah, they want one who's going to come in and great signs, going to separate the Jordan, or bring down the walls of Jerusalem, or drive the Romans out with their words and actions. But in their scriptures it says, he who is hung is despised by God. And those little phrases, that's all they needed to say it can't be Jesus because he was hung on a cross. He cannot be the one. They throw Isaiah 53 right out the window. They take Psalm 22, throw it right out the window. All of which was fulfilled in Jesus Christ. But foolishness to them. And to the Gentiles alike, who were big on philosophy and Plato and all those great thinkers, who could actually look at the Hebrew Scriptures and say there is great wisdom and philosophy in there. But they had their deities as well. And there was no way a deity would ever humble himself to live in a human existence. No way a God would come down from their heavenly realm and walk upon this sin-based earth. It's foolish. But what they consider foolishness is God's wisdom. God put Jesus Christ on the earth for the salvation of us. There is no other way but through Jesus Christ. No other way. But we need everyone to answer that call to live out your Christian life and to be his witnesses to the world. I heard someone lament years ago, there should be 120 people in this church. Why isn't there 120, 130 people in church? And the pastor answered, because you didn't invite them to come. Because each of us has that responsibility. To invite someone. Bring a friend. Bring a family member. Drag in a stranger. We'll take them. But let them know the love of Christ can be found. Answer your calling to be a witness. To embrace what the world may seem as foolishness, as the truth. Because it's for those who believe that God's foolishness is wiser than our human wisdom. And God's weakness is stronger than our human strength. God has great plans for us. God will not abandon us. And God has a love that is stronger than anyone could ever imagine. Use his stumbling block as your stepping stone to heaven. Amen. Your stepping stone to heaven. While I'm talking about little cartoons, there's a little Christian cartoon called Pontius Pilate. And then Pontius is saying, I wonder if God can really hear me. And next phrase, Pontius looking up and saying, hey God, what should I do with my life? And a voice comes and says, feed the hungry, right injustice, work for peace. Just testing, said Pontius. Same here, said God. Your call. Your call. Are you ready to answer? Thanks be to God. Amen. Amen.